Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely fascinating and maybe a little bit controversial statistical genetics study. We're trying to answer a really simple, everyday question. Why are taller people generally smarter? I know, it sounds like an urban legend, right? But the data actually tells this deeply compelling story about human nature, our genetics, and honestly, human attraction. Let's get right into it. So for decades, observational studies have consistently shown this modest but totally undeniable positive correlation between a person's height and their IQ. We're talking a correlation ranging from 0.10 to 0.20. It's a statistical reality. But why these two seemingly completely unrelated physical and cognitive traits are linked? Well, that's been a massive scientific mystery. I mean, are you taller and smarter just because you had a great childhood diet? Or is there something way deeper, actually encoded in our DNA? To crack this case, we'll walk through the height IQ mystery, meet our main suspects, build the ultimate family tree, reveal the final verdict, and wrap up with the evolutionary meaning. Section 1. The height IQ mystery. For the longest time, researchers basically placed all the blame for this correlation squarely on our environments. The big theory was that things like childhood nutrition or socioeconomic status caused people to grow up both taller and smarter. And hey, older twin studies seem to back this up, but they had a massive, glaring blind spot. They completely ignored human attraction. If you don't account for who is actually choosing to mate with whom, your statistical models will totally overestimate the environmental effects and totally underestimate the genetics. Section 2. Meet the suspects. Suspect number 1 is a concept called pleiotropy. In evolutionary biology, this ties into the good genes theory. It basically suggests that the exact same underlying genes making you taller are also contributing to a higher intelligence. Think of it like this. These traits aren't running on completely separate circuits. They're partially sharing the exact same genetic hardware. So if you happen to possess genes that promote overall biological quality, they manifest all at once as both increased height and better cognitive ability. Now, suspect number 2 is assortative mating. This is such a fascinating concept because it reminds us that, well, humans don't just mate at random. If height and IQ are both generally considered attractive traits, then highly intelligent people are naturally going to pair up with taller people at rates way higher than just pure chance. And over generations, this cross-trait assortative mating actually causes a statistical relationship to build up. So even if the genes for height and the genes for IQ are completely separate, our dating habits literally wire them together in our kids. Section 3. The ultimate family tree. To finally get some definitive answers, the researchers had to assemble a truly massive data set. They didn't just poll a few undergrads, they analyzed records from 7,905 individuals spread across nearly 3,000 families. They pulled all this from 4 highly detailed twin and family samples in Colorado and Australia. We're talking about a comprehensive, multi-generational data pool. They used what's called a powerful bivariate twin family design. By meticulously comparing identical twins and fraternal twins, and then throwing their non-twin siblings and parents into the mix, the researchers gained an exponential increase in their statistical power. It's a brilliant setup because it rigorously isolates the pure genetic effects from the shared family environment. And the data they found is absolutely wild. The spousal correlations prove without a doubt that human beings absolutely mate assortatively based on these very specific traits. We are out there actively seeking partners who match our own levels of these attributes or who have traits we find highly desirable. It completely shatters the myth of random mating when it comes to height and intelligence. Let's look closely at the actual dating behavior quantified here. Smart women are partnering with tall men with a correlation of 0.18, and smart men are partnering with tall women at 0.11. So this isn't just some weird statistical artifact, right? This is real human beings actively mixing these genetic traits just through their everyday romantic preferences. Section 4. The final verdict. First up, they thoroughly busted the old myth. The data clearly showed that shared environmental factors, stuff like the childhood nutrition or the socioeconomic status of the family you grew up in, had literally zero positive effect on the correlation between height and IQ in these populations. Zero. So the whole environmental theory, toss it out. That left genetics as the sole remaining culprit tying these two traits together. But here is the major twist ending. It wasn't just one genetic suspect. Our 2 genetic suspects, pleiotropy and assortative mating, split the blame almost perfectly evenly, 50-50.
The models indicate that both the shared underlying genes and the simple fact that smart people and tall people are actively seeking each other out contribute significantly and equally to this genetic correlation. They are total co-conspirators in this.
And it goes even further. Because of our highly specific mate choices, the additive genetic variation in the entire population actually inflates. If you compare us to a scenario where humans just mated completely randomly, our preference for these treats boosts the population's genetic variation in IQ by a staggering 28% and height variation by 13%. Literally, our daily romantic choices are actively shaping the genetic diversity of the entire human race. How crazy is that?
Section 5. The evolutionary meaning.
These findings strongly suggest that both intelligence and height act as what evolutionary biologists call honest signals of good genes. We naturally find them attractive because they subtly signal to us that a potential partner has a lower burden of negative genetic mutations across their entire genome. And since human mate choice is bidirectional, meaning, both men and women are highly selective about who they date, we see very similar evolutionary pressures and trait development happening in both sexes. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative thought about your own mate choices. If height and intelligence are fundamentally linked in our DNA simply because we historically desire them in our partners, what other seemingly totally unrelated traits in human beings are secretly wired together by the sheer force of our attraction? It definitely makes you think differently about the hidden genetic legacy of our everyday romantic choices. Thanks so much for joining me today, and always keep questioning the science of everyday life.